My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between having an opinion and being opinionated, and why this is important to your content creation and publishing. Now, this episode was is inspired by a recent episode of the Content is Profit podcast with the Biz Bros, Luis and Luis. They recently chimed in on a topic talking about people being afraid of being polarizing with their content, right? And then therefore, as an extension, being afraid to, shying away from sharing their opinions in their content. And I get it. I totally get it, right? There definitely is, there's that reticence and that hesitation because you don't want to turn people off from your content. Here's the thing. In the last episode of Path of the Network Marketer, we talked about the steps that you can take to gradually develop your voice as a content creator and how being authentic is critical to that because that's uniquely you, right? That helps you stand out because your perspective is unique to you, right? Nobody else has your experience and nobody else has your perspective. And to me, that's all opinion is. It's your perspective, right? We all have our unique perspective of life because again, we all have different experiences and we all digest and reflect on those experiences and on the events around us in different ways, right? So sharing that again is what will help you stand out and being that unique you is what people will resonate with. That is different, however, from being opinionated, right? Being opinionated is believing in the rightness of your own opinion. And that's completely unfair. And this is when you start to turn people off, potentially, right? You can turn people off because being opinionated is saying that your opinion and your perspective is the only right one. Therefore, everybody else's perspective is wrong. And so if your messaging and your content it has this behind it, it's that opinionated content, then yeah, it's definitely going to turn people off because you're invalidating everybody else's perspective. Now, you can share your opinion logically and rationally, and people may not agree with it, but because you are respectful of other people's perspective, they'll at the very least respect your perspective as well. However, if you're just being opinionated and telling everybody that you're right and everybody else is wrong, then I'm not going to listen to you because then you've just right then and there invalidated my perspective. And who are you to invalidate my perspective? Because I know what I lived, I know what I've experienced, and so therefore this is my perspective. Now, the polarization of content then comes into the equation in that some opinions will drive people to polar opposites, and that's okay, right? Like, don't worry and don't be afraid to share your opinion thinking that it'll be too polarizing because you can't control people's reactions. Ultimately, you can't control that, right? That's external. And so to temper your content and to try to tiptoe around certain topics because you don't want to create any waves is to create content that's reactive to an external factor, i.e., people's opinions that you can't control, right? People's reactions to your content you ultimately can't control, and so you shouldn't create content based on that, right? Don't be afraid to share your opinion. Again, you can share your opinion in a logical, rational, and healthy way and respectful way, and it'll be respected. Whether or not people think it's polarizing or get turned off by it, you can't control. Now, the flip side of that, or the extension of that, is the same thing with people who are purposefully polarizing and purposefully opinionated. Yes, sure, it might drive clicks, and it might get viral. And some people might agree with it, but if you're being opinionated, it's gonna close off. I think in my experience, it's gonna shut out and turn off majority of the people out there because you're being too opinionated. Yeah, you'll have your cheerleaders, and that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think many people purposefully are polarizing and opinionated. It's just that, yeah. I mean, there's those, 0.01% of the population that are sociopaths, and this behavior of being opinionated and polarizing on social and on the internet with content is then reinforced by the clicks and the attention that they get. However, that's not the majority of the people, right? Like, the majority of people are rational and are logical and want to engage in thought-provoking discussions. And so you can do that, again, respectfully. You can share your perspective and your opinion respectfully, and that's how you're going to stand out, right? Because, again, your perspective and your opinion is unique to you. Your experience is unique to you. So don't shy away from that. You want to actually embrace that, but be mindful of whether or not you're being opinionated or you're, purposefully being polarizing. Well, polarizing, you just don't really need to worry about, right? You don't need to worry about it. If that's what you choose, that's what you choose. If you want that to be your shtick, that can be your shtick. But for everybody else that's listening out there, whether or not you end up being polarizing, you can't control, right? If you're being authentic, if you're being honest with your perspective, if you're being respectful with your perspective, whether or not it ends up being polarizing is just, it's just how the environment and the culture and society will deal with it. It shouldn't be the motivating factor in your content creation. That's really what I want to get at. The polarization of content, whether you're purposefully doing it or unintentional, don't worry about it. Like in my experience, don't let that be the motivation and the driving force behind the content that you create, because that's a reactive creation as opposed to creating from the inside out and giving of yourself, sharing your unique, authentic perspective. So that's my 2 cents. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know. Let's have this discussion in our community. It's facebook.com/groups/path of the network marketer. I just recorded our live, I did a live recording there for the first time of our 150th episode. So that's going to be coming out in a few days. If you want to participate in more live recordings, that's a great place to do it. And of course, you'll get exclusive content that's exclusive to that community and nowhere else. You'll get first dibs in terms of hearing when things are going to be released, like guides, hint, guides and merchandise. For those of you who are into merch, there's going to be merch coming out soon. So yeah, there's just a lot of reasons to be a part of that community. The main thing is the content, the value, and it's a community that's going to support you on your entrepreneurial journey. So again, it's facebook.com/groups/path of the network marketer. That's going to do it for today's episode. We'll catch you tomorrow with a fresh one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.